Hi guys, Miss Davis here. Just going to do a little mini lesson on how to add a quote to your research and how to actually use it in your writing. So remember that when you are quoting a source, you are using it to prove a point usually or to show your understanding of the information. If you're doing a persuasive essay, a quote usually supports your argument. But in this case, you're using a quote when you just can't say it in a better way than the author did, or they say something in a really great way that you can't capture by paraphrasing it. So a quote is something you choose to do when you find something that's just said better by the original author. I found an example of that here in my first source, and you'll see that I have source 1 titled there, and I've got my citation up at the top, and down here are my note facts from that source. And so this is the original source, and as I was reading through this website on Abraham Lincoln at biography.com, I found down here under his law career, it's about his young adult life, I found something that I thought was said really well, and that was, he spoke with a backwoods twang and walked with a long striding gait. And I thought that gave a great visual of how he looked. And some of the information I have here is about his appearance right here. He's 6'4", tall, he's 22, worked as a manual laborer, and people in his town loved him, was another thing that I learned in this. People in his town noticed and liked him as a person. Okay, so now that I have all of this information here, I've got all my note facts, what I'm going to do is start creating paraphrases and using quotes in some of those paraphrased areas. The easiest way to do this is to organize the facts you already have into similar categories. And I do that by creating a table. So I click table up here, and a table will, popped up in the wrong spot. Let's put it in the right spot. A table will pop up, and I make it so that it has only 2 columns, and I like to stretch them out. I like to give myself some space. So I put similar note facts into the same box down here. So this is about why he's famous and his presidential experience. So I'm going to copy and then delete and paste that into this box here. Double click on it so your cursor's in it, and then click paste. Okay. What I'm going to do next to each of these is actually put the paraphrase in this box here using all of that info from the left-hand side and putting it there. And I'm going to do this one specifically because it has a quotation in it. So what I'm going to do is start with a topic sentence. The main idea here in this paragraph is that people really noticed him and liked him as a young adult, and that's what helped him become captain during a war, and then eventually what helped him get elected. So Abraham was very popular with the townspeople of Illinois. So you'll see that was here. Put it in italics so I know I already covered it. Townspeople of Illinois. And it's no surprise, considering when you think about how much he stood out from a crowd. All right, at 22 years old, he stood at 6 feet 4 inches tall. And now this is what we call right here a lead-in. So this is a signal that a quote is coming, because I'm going to put, and it was said that, and this is where the quote starts. It was said that, or according to, or as so-and-so said. Those are all examples of lead-ins. That's a signal that a quote is coming. So you don't just give a hit and run quote, okay? So at 22 years old, he stood at 6'4" tall, and it was said that he spoke, and I'm copying this exactly as it's worded. He spoke with a backwoods twang and walked with a long striding gait. Okay. Now, the next part, now that I've put a quote in there, the big thing I have to do now is give credit. We call this an in-text citation, because you're citing the source in the text you're writing. So, you put a parenthesis, and then you're going to put the last name of the author, or if you don't have that, the publisher works too. So I'm going to put A&E Networks. That tells my reader which of my sources this quote came from, basically. So A&E Networks. Then I put a period after that close quotation mark. That's really important. That shows that I'm done quoting and it's all set. It's the end of the sentence. Then I can continue my explanation after the quote. So I had my lead-in, said it was said that, and I included my little detail in the quote form. So I'm going to make sure I've got all of these. Use that information, use that information. What I have left is the information about his political ventures. So I'm going to say, to show how this quote relates to everything, both of these qualities of his character led him to be well liked and recognized, which is a big reason why he was chosen by the town, to be captain in the Black Hawk War in 1832. Later, he joined the Whig Party in 1834, and his popularity helped him to be elected to the Illinois State Legislature. So now I've included all of this note fact information in my very new paraphrased and quoted example on the right hand side. And what I'm going to do to show evidence that I paraphrased and quoted, I'm going to make bold all of the paraphrasing. That's all down here. And I'm going to underline the quoted information. That shows the teacher, or whoever it is that is doing the assessment, that I actually paraphrased and quoted here, and that shows evidence. So I would do the same thing in each of these boxes. I would create a paraphrase paragraph here. Notice there's no quotes. No quotes will be in this one. Same thing here. And I'll do that for all of my sources. So I take the note facts, organize them, and then paraphrase them and weave the quotes into my paraphrasing, remembering to have a signal that a quote is coming, the quote itself in quotation marks, word for word, and an in-text citation that says where I got that info. And that's it, folks. That's how you throw a quote into a paragraph and make sure that it actually flows and doesn't just look like a hit and run quote. So I hope that helps you to understand it, and can't wait to see your quotes. Thanks so much. Bye.